Burn, witch, burn, witch, burn, burn, burn! Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, there's a witch over there in the corner over there, and you see all these candles here? Yes, I've lit them before, and I almost did burn that poor witch over there. Safety first, Kilt-Man. What I had neglected to do was trim the John Wicks on these candles, which were hanging like about that much, and I lit them all. Ooh, great that, look at that, whoa, behind Big Inferno. And I thought, wow, it'd be great on the video, this. And then because they were so long, these wicks, they were melting into the candle shaft itself. Wax was going everywhere, all over the worktop. Mrs. Kilt-Man would not have been pleased. So stupidly, I went and blew them all out. Ooh, smoke! Set the smoke alarm off as well. Oh dear, you know, safety first with Kilty. Anyway, folks, it's almost Halloween. Halloween is actually tomorrow, 2023's Halloween. And, whoa, I've got a spooky ooky one for you now. And it's a classic as well. We're going back to 1960 for John Llewellyn Moxey's Horror Hotel, better known as City of the Dead, starring Christopher Lee. A tale of witches, superstitious claptrap, ritualistic murders, fog, an old isolated town in Massachusetts where 3 centuries before the witches had been burned. Particularly, what's her name? Elizabeth Selwyn, that's the one, that's the main witch. Elizabeth Selwyn was dragged out from her. I've told them that. Do you mind? Interrupting like that. And all these puritanical swines with big silly hats on come out of the mist with their pitchforks and their torches, and they drag her out. You know, she's been implemented in deaths aplenty, and people being drained of blood and that kind of stuff. And Lucifer, ritualistic stuff to the devil. And all the townsfolk are all there, all with their horrible countenances. They look like witches themselves, which will transpire that they will all sort of become anyway. And she gets dragged out and she gets put on the stake and flambéed, but she offers up to the devil herself. Look, I'll serve you forevermore. Curse this town, curse this place and everybody within it. I will do your bidding. I will serve you, master. And of course, that comes true. So, City of the Dead is a fabulous, really ultra creepy, highly stylish, wonderfully lensed and directed movie. And it's the first, well, Amicus was about to come into fruition. Hammer was already a huge, big seller around the world, Hammer Horror. Amicus with Max J. Rosenberg and Milton Subotsky was about to be germinated and be birthed. But this film is an Amicus movie in everything except the actual name Amicus. In fact, it's under the moniker of Vulcan Films, but to all intents and purposes, this is the first Amicus movie. And it's a doozy, folks. It's got Christopher Lee in it, for God's sake. So they actually managed to get hold of the big rising superstar of horror from Hammer, and they got him for their own little movie. And even though it's set in like Massachusetts, and they're all meant to be Americans, including Christopher Lee, they're not. It's filmed in Shepperton Studios. It's all studio bound, and the majority of English people in the starring roles, and behind the camera as well. The director is an Englishman. All your main actors are English. There's a couple of Americans there, but everyone's trying to look like, you know, late 50s, early 60s, buzz cuts and all that, like, and the trendy hairdos for the girls, and they're adopting American accents with, you know, to be honest, the only person who slips up on the accent is, yes, you guessed it, that genius thespian with the fantastic voice, Christopher Lee, who only seems to remember that he's meant to be American in every third or fourth sentence that he utters, and only about 2 or 3 words get that kind of American twang put into it. But he's still great in it anyway. So, what is the story of City of the Dead? Because that is its best title. In America, it's released as Horror Hotel, and in America, they also cut 6 minutes out of it. They cut some dialogue and they cut some of the violence out of it as well. And I've got that version on DVD under the title of Horror Hotel, and when you watch that, it's still very, very good. That's how I first encountered it, to be honest. But when you watch the full The City of the Dead, wow, it's a much, much better movie. There's more deeper Satanism, there's more deeper diabolicalness, and it's a bit more vulgar, a bit more violent, and it's rife with nastiness. So, Nan Barlow. Nan Barlow, what a strange name that is. Played by the delectable, the lovely, the delightful Venetia Stevenson. She's a student and she's studying witchcraft. And who better to learn about witchcraft from than Professor Alan Driscoll, played by Christopher Lee. And after the prologue where you see Elizabeth Selwyn, I'm going to keep getting these names wrong. Lucky I've got them written down here. In this handy little booklet, a booklet from the fabulous Arrow Blu-ray release of City of the Dead. She's studying all this sort of thing, and there's a class of these people. You've seen the prologue, which then becomes the sort of what you've seen here, condemning the village and the burn witch, burn, 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 all that bleeds into Christopher Lee in your face, saying it all, reciting the story. And Nan Barlow is just, she's avidly listening to all this, as are a few others, in a very sort of, they're not in a classroom, they're in like his lounge, by the looks of things. Christopher Lee's lounge. And, but her boyfriend, Bill Maitland, played by, what's his name? Oh, God. Tom Naylor, who's as British as they come, and didn't do much after this at all. He's her boyfriend, and when Christopher Lee's going, burn witch, burn, burn, he keeps on saying it like, Bill Maitland goes, dig that crazy beat, and he's really annoying Christopher Lee, and he's stroking the back of Venetia Stevenson's neck and all this, like, and he clearly has got no time for this class, and he's just like looking around all the time like that, and Christopher Lee gets really pissed off with him. Right, class dismissed, and you've got like a book, slams it shut and all that, like, everyone go. But Miss Barlow, would you come forward, please? He berates Bill Maitland. What are you doing in this class anyway? But you get out. But Miss Barlow, come hither. Would you like to learn more during the summer break and all that, like when term is over? Oh yes, I'd love to. I'd be delighted to learn more. Well, there's a town, Whitewood, upstate, where I think you'll learn a lot about witchcraft. So we stay at the Ravens Inn. Mention my name and you'll be fine. Everything will be sorted for you. But yeah, I reckon you should go up there for a couple of weeks. You'll learn everything you need to know about witchcraft there. It's a delightful place. So she gets sent off there. Of course, her boyfriend is not happy about this. What are you doing going up there for? You're going to meet witches, and what difference does it make? Why just stay here? We've got parties and things to do and all this kind of stuff. Now, her brother is also a lecturer, a professor at whatever university this happens to be. And it's just people's rooms and lovely lounges and, that sort of thing. And he turns up as well. And Bill Maitland, the boyfriend, says, oh, listen, can you just speak to her? Because she's listening to this dickhead Driscoll about witches and all that. I can't get through to her. Just tell her not to go anywhere. She's thinking they're going up to this strange town somewhere. Oh, I'll speak to him. Because they're colleagues in work. So you get this guy. And this guy, Dennis Lotis, plays Richard Barlow, Dick Barlow. And actually his accent's not too bad, but he was a British singer and entertainer. And I think this may have been his first acting role, actually in a movie, I think. And he's a smug ass bastard, but I quite like him at the same time. He's not your typical sort of hero bloke, and he's the brother of Nan Barlow. So, but he goes in and he confronts Christopher Lee about all this hocus pocus about witchcraft and all that. I'm a scientist. I believe in what I can see and touch and feel and hear and smell. This is all fairy stories. Well, of course, fairy tales have their basis in reality. Now, reality has its basis in fairy tales. You, of all people, being an academic, should know that quotation. And he's like, yes, well, that is not a quotation from anyone famous. It's made up for the movie. Milton Subotsky wrote the story for this, but a guy called George Baxt wrote the screenplay. But it's Milton Subotsky's idea, and Subotsky was the head honcho, really, with Rosenberg of Amicus, and their brand of kind of not as nasty as Hammer. They weren't as gory, but their films were still magnificent. Often a lot of portmanteau anthology movies, of which this film reminds of a segment of one of them, which will come on to all the legacies and influence of this movie. And but they had this big argument, and I think this is where the book gets. Christopher Lee goes like that. Now, get out. They're meant to be colleagues. They work together in the college or the university or whatever the hell it is. And I put the whiskey down, but not for long, did I? Some people say I could be addicted to this stuff. And you know what? They'd be right. Bravo, chaps. You've got me sussed. Cheers, y'all. So, Nan goes off anyway for 2 weeks. Drives into the fog-bound sets of Shepperton Studios, which are incredible. I said before about it's. Forget the likes of John Carpenter's The Fog. Forget the likes of The Mist. Oh yes, they've got all this misty, ethereal stuff going on, but they're nothing to this movie. The Mist here is fabulous, and it's all enveloping. And most movies that use mist, they fake the mist with mist machines and all that kind of stuff, and use a variety of things, like even potato skins and stuff like that, vegetable oil to make these things. Most mist in movies sits at the ground level, so you walk through it. Think of the old Universals. You're walking through the mist, and it comes up to just below your knee, really. Not so with John Llewellyn Moxey's movie. No, we want proper mist. So what they did, they used a paraffin-based, I don't know what you call it, ignition thing, and a gel that's in it. And with a wind machine, it rises. It rises. And it forms different layers and different textures. So it could be high up, it could be behind you, be around you. You're walking through it. It isn't just sitting at ground level. And once Nan drives out from College Town, and she meets one of the only Americans in it is this poor old bastard who runs the garage, the gas station, and everyone in the movie at some point will stop there and ask directions to get to Whitewood. He's forever like, you don't want to go there. They don't like visitors. They don't like tourists. They don't like strangers. Doesn't stop anyone going there. And obviously, the gas station attendant is correct. They don't like anyone going there unless it's been arranged, which we're coming on to. So she gets directions there, and then there's looming out of the fog, this mist, there's a strange man dressed in black, and his name is Jethro. Jethro, what is it now? Not Jethro at all. Jethro Kane, or Jethro Keen, I think it is, and he's played by. If you think Christopher Lee's got a fantastic, deep voice, you've got Valentine Dial playing this guy, Jethro Keen, and he is amazing. Now this guy, another great face, another great English name, from radio, from TV, from theatre, and from movies. Valentine Dial made his name really because he played the Man in Black on a regular series show about ghostly horror stories and thrillers and that, called Appointment with Fear. And he would be the narrator. I am the storyteller. I am the Man in Black. This is your appointment with fear. And he's up the side of the road. Don't stop, Nan, don't stop. And she goes, oh, am I heading the right way to Whitewood? Yes. Oh, if you're going to Whitewood, could I perchance ride with you? That's where I'm headed to. Oh, of course, gets in. Jesus Christ. Gets in like, what he says to her, what is your mission in Whitewood? She goes, my mission? Well, I'm on a sabbatical from college. I'm going to study, blah, 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 blah. Where are you staying? Oh, and she says, like, I'm staying at the Ravens Inn. And he's like, oh, I'll be resting there too. It's just fucking brilliant. It's so stupid as well, like, but it's great. Anyway, so they pull up into this town, which is just, think Sleepy Hollow, think Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. Tim Burton always said that when he made Sleepy Hollow, he was trying to recreate what Hammer did. Yeah, with the sort of bright red gore and the atmosphere, it is like that. But if you look at the town of Sleepy Hollow, which they built, and of course they did it in British studios, it was all filmed in England, and when the mist rolls in, it looks just like this town. So I think he was more inspired by this than he was by Hammer. Seriously, that's what I believe. And I won't hear otherwise. And they just drive around this huge elaborate set with all these clapboard houses and like these like American Gothic abodes. And it's a little cemetery on a rise, and there's a church there as well. And it's clearly a very limited set, but under Moxie's direction and the brilliant camera work by Desmond Dickinson, who works wonders with this movie. More on that later. They drive around. It seems you're there. It's a real town, but lost in time, lost in limbo, lost in fog and mist and shadows. And getting a bit above your station there, I think. And they pull up outside the Ravens Inn, and she's talking to him, and then turns around, and he ain't there no more. Where did he go? Oh well, we may find out later. And she goes out and she checks into the Ravens Inn, and we meet Mrs. Newland. Is it Newland? God, Newless, played by Patricia Jessel. Now, Patricia Jessel is straight away you just know witch, mainly because she's got the same face as the witch you saw getting burnt at the start. So, spoilers, I don't think anyone is going to be remotely surprised by how these things, transpire. But Patricia Jessel was a darling of a lot of TV shows and a lot of movies as well, did theatrical work as well. And she's a lot younger than she looks in this movie. When you see her as the witch with her hair all abandoned, and she's like frightened and aghast and then cursing and hissing and all that, she looks a lot younger. When you see her as this sort of starched harridan housekeeper, landlady, with her hair tied up and all this, and dressed in black and all that kind of stuff, she looks very cruel, and yet she puts on airs and graces and is mock friendly. Oh yes, you can stay here, and I'll put you in this room. We're very busy tonight because we've got a lot of guests who've made a long journey to be here. Why? We'll find out, won't we? And they put her in this sort of ground floor room, and it's lovely. It's nice and gothic. There's also there's a maid there called Lottie, played by, is it Amy Beach? Anne Beach. But Lottie, God love her, she's mute. Just a little. And of course, she announces herself as Nan walks in and there's no one there. And she's at the check-in desk sort of thing. This hand just comes out of nowhere and lands on her shoulder, spiderish like, and it's Lottie. Oh, I didn't hear you come in. And but so she gets shown her room, and yeah, it's all lovely. Oh, I'm just here to study. What, witchcraft? What do you think she says? I'm here to study witchcraft. Oh, well, you can take a tour around the town, go and see the church, go to the bookshop and all that. And the guests will be down later. You might like to meet them and all this. It's all mock sort of friendliness. But nothing's right here. The mist won't fucking go, will it? Everyone looks dead strange. The guy that did this disappearing act from beside her in the car. What happened to him? Well, he's there, of course. And he clearly knows Mrs. Newless. God. And the thing is, you recognise him as well, because in that prologue, you have, when they drag the witch out, Elizabeth, God almighty, Selwyn. You think I hadn't seen this movie. I've seen it a million times and I still can't get the names right. When they drag her out, they actually, they impeach upon this Jethro. Have you been consorting with the witch? And he's like, no, I haven't. And it's Valentine Dial with that voice and a silly conical hat on and all that. Like, so he denies her. But then, in a really strange moment, to be honest, when they're condemning it and they set fire to the pyre, and that she's standing on, and she's chained to this pole, and no dancing here though. And he says right in front of all the other people who are, oh, Lucifer, take care of her. Lucifer, protect her. Lucifer, see she comes to no harm. So he is in league with her, but he's denied her. And then, how come no one can hear him saying this? Hang on, didn't you just say that you were nothing to do with it, and now you're impeaching Lucifer to help her? Burn him! Burn! Which should have happened. But now he's with her. So clearly, and you see them sitting by the fire, and he says, she's pretty. He will be pleased. And she's like, yes. Have all the arrangements been made? Everything. I'm sorry, I'm giving the woman his voice. She's like, everything is in order. Yes. And they've all got deep voices in this movie. And but so they are clearly reincarnations of the witch and the guy that let her down and denied her. But they're clearly together now and working in cahoots. Gotta remember, she offered herself up to the devil, to Lucifer, I want eternal life to condemn all of these town elders and all their descendants and keep this town as ours, and all this kind of stuff like so. So she's obviously forgiven him and they're working together. And obviously Nan has been brought into a trap. So, what's Nan short for? Nan? What kind of name is Nan? Your grandmother's Nan. Nanny, Nana. But what, as a name, what is it? Someone out there will tell me. Venetia Stevenson is absolutely unbelievably gorgeous, and she will take a little journey out right before the guests start dancing around, because there are other guests there. She goes out into the town and she walks through the mist and she approaches the church. Now, in a wonderful moment which will be repeated later on in a pure deja vu exact reproduction, she walks through the mist towards the church, and a couple walk past her and then stop and turn and just stand there staring at her, and she knows it and has a little look at them like, oh, okay, carries on. And then a man will walk past her and he will stop and turn and stare at her. She's a stranger in a strange town and they all know things that she doesn't know. But that great image of the two in the background and this guy, and then her looking back at them as she approaches the church, is wonderful. It's spellbinding. It really, it's gorgeous. It's creepy, but it's the good kind of creepy. That town, you want to rebuild that town. All of us, we're all monster kids. We all love this sort of thing. If we could, we would build that town and have that fog machine. Although, what I will say about using paraffin to make this sort of fog and mist have tendrils and to move and to have layers and rise higher. The downside of it is that when you inhale paraffin, it makes you sick. So the entire cast and crew were forever throwing up. But at least it looked good. They suffer for their art. And so she gets to the church and straight away, she's about to get there and the door opens and the reverend, the priest, the old guy, he's blind as a bat. He's like, leave Whitewood tonight. I beg of you, leave Whitewood before it's too late. So you get the old guy giving the warnings. So he's a good guy in the middle of it's called City of the Dead. It's clearly not a city. It's a It's got about 10 buildings in it and a little cemetery, and that's kind of it, really. So it's barely even a village. But, City of the Dead sounds better than Horror Hotel, doesn't it? And but he's clearly said to her, like, look, this is not a good place. If I were you, I'd get lost now. And in a great moment, he's played by, let's just get this name. The Reverend Russell, played by Norman McCowan. Now, he's British as well. And he's not blind at all. But he does a very convincing blind act and a wonderful touch, because the door's only open a crack like that. He's come through, leaning through like that, and he's given her the warning, the ominous warning. And then, leave Whitewood tonight, I beg of you, before it's too late. He then recedes into blackness and shuts the door. And it's clever because he's gone back into the world that he knows, a world of blackness, because he's sightless, isn't he? So, and it's just a wonderful little poetic touch. And so then she goes and she visits the local bookshop. And in the bookshop is his granddaughter, the Reverend's granddaughter, played by, oh, God Almighty. No, not played by God Almighty. Better St. John. Better St. John. So not God, but a saint anyway. And she's Patricia Russell. So she's the granddaughter of the Reverend who you've just met. And she's lovely. Very perky and cute and lovely. And yeah, she's British as well. And of course, two young women, and it's nice to see someone like this, and you instantly trust this girl, but you're also thinking, what the fuck are you doing there? This place is clearly creepy as hell, and everybody in it is super, super sinister. What are you doing there? Why is your old man, why is your granddad still there? We find out that she's only moved there literally about 2 or 3 weeks before, when her grandmother died. So the grandmother must have been living with the Reverend. So, but you don't really get to know too much about all this, but she's moved to look after him. Okay, great. But she runs this antique and bookshop thing. And of course, Nan finds a treatise on witchcraft. And, this is a fabulous book. I'm staying she's booked herself in for a couple of weeks, this sabbatical. I booked in for a couple of weeks. I can't afford to buy the book. Oh, well, you can borrow it. You can borrow it for sure. So they're two little friends. And Nan goes off back to the hotel, the Raven's Inn, and she's in her room and she's making notes and all this. And Lottie, the little mute maid, is trying to convey to her that basically it's not safe here. You want to get your ass out of here. But every time she tries to convey this warning, Mrs. Newless comes in like, Lottie, what have I told you before about disturbing the guests? Get out, you pathetic creature. She's fucking vile to this poor girl. And so off she goes. But Nan's just like, okay, fine. Making notes, lying on the bed. Blah de da da da. Oh, witch's birthday this day. Oh, Candlemas Eve. The 2nd of February. 2nd of February. Probably got that date wrong now. 2nd of February. And what's the fucking date that she's there? It's the 2nd of February. And she says to Mrs. Newless, she was like, who picks up the book? She goes, a treatise on witchcraft. She goes, well, Mrs. Newless, wait till I tell you. Even though you live here, I bet you don't know the half of it. This place where we're standing right now, this hotel, is built on the site where they burnt the witches. And she's like, really? Yeah, they fucking burnt me here, And she's like, and she tells her, on Candlemas Eve, what they do, a young woman is sacrificed. First of all, they take something of hers, and they use it to call her, and then she's sacrificed and all her blood is drained, and it's all in service of Lucifer. And she goes, well, crazy witchcraft stuff, hey, you kids. And about to walk up. By the way, Mrs. Newless, I've lost my locket. Well, I'll have Lottie look for it. Yeah, I was wearing it before, it's gone. I put it on my dress or whatever it was and it's gone now. So, this girl, how stupid can you possibly be? You've been sent up to this town in the middle of nowhere, mist-enshrouded. Everyone who's normal, is warning you to go. Get out of here. It's not safe here, blah, 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 blah. And in this place, they burnt witches. And what they do, there's a curse on the place as well. And a girl on Candlemas Eve something is stolen from hers and then used to call her. Oh, and I've lost my locket. And what night is it? It's Candlemas Eve. Not the brightest of students, is she? No. Anyway, she hears noises underneath the floor because it's actually, pull the rug back, there's a trapdoor there. Trapdoor. And she hears like Gregorian chanting taking place. She calls Mrs. Newell and says, there's noises down here. Oh no, it's that'll be the pipes. It's a very old building, you know. It's just be the waterworks. She said, well, what's that trapdoor for? Oh, there's nothing under there. Because there's no key to open it, you see. Well, there is, but it's not there, apparently. She was like, oh no, there's nothing underneath there. It's just air that's under there. Oh, okay. Puts the rug back. Will you be joining the guests to dance? They'll all be coming down shortly. Anyway, so I just want to finish making my notes. And then you get the celebrated scene of Venetia Stevenson, who had been a model as well. She strips off to put on a party dress and blouse. But what she strips off to, she undoes her dressing gown. She's got like the sexiest burlesque number underneath you've ever seen. An exotic Parisian corset with, you know, huge cleavages and lovely white stockings and suspenders. And oh, yeah, it's like, I did not expect to see this here. No wonder everyone's got a deep voice, you know, well. The temperature is certainly rising. As is something else. And she is uber sexy. And it's a very gratuitous scene and kind of, really speaking, a bit unnecessary. But it just go, But what you've seen outside as well, oh God, I keep picking this up and then putting it down without having a swig. Silly me. And another wonderful touch, you see the other guests and they're playing jazz. There's jazz music playing and they're all dancing. It's a very confined space. You've got flickering firelight. It's all wood, rafters and beams. Beautiful set, beautiful. This is the ground floor of the hotel. And they're all dancing. And Lottie walks past from right to left. Yeah. Heading towards the room that Nan's in. This is where she tries to give the warning to Nan and then gets booted out by the cruel Harridan bitch. Witch. But you see it, and it looks like it's almost re-projected that these people are dancing there. And they're dancing quite fast, all in couples. And Lottie walks past and looks at them and then looks towards us with kind of trepidation and fear. And it's a really wonderfully bizarre shot. And what happens later on, because Nan comes out and she sees everyone dancing there, and they're dancing to a slower number this time, but they're all in the same couples. They're really there, but Mrs. Newlis walks past and stops and does that sort of pose like that. Oh, Mrs. Newlis, I lost my locket. I think that's when she tells her about the locket going. And then she sees on the calendar on the wall behind, it's Candlemas Eve as well. This is Nan looking at this. And Mrs. Newlis is like that, you know. But with an unbroken sort of implacable stare. And then finally she goes, well, we try to find Lottie, but she can't find her at the moment. But we will get your locket for you. You're going to join us for a dance. And so that's when she runs in and goes and gets changed. Music's playing the whole time. And when she walks out again, the minute she opens the door, the music stops and there's fucking no one there. No one. Dancers have all gone. But where is everybody? And then Mrs. Newlis suddenly appears again, like, and says, like, oh, well, the guests have all gone to services now. Services? Well, a lot of them come from far and wide, and yes, they go to the services. It's Candlemas Eve. And all this kind of shit, like. But you've had, like, Lottie walking past this sort of rear projected shot, which is not rear projected. They're really there, but it looks so weird and off kilter. And it's like, how have you done that? Because Lottie looks like she's been superimposed in front of this rear projected image. And the same with Mrs. Newlis standing like that. It looks the same. It's fabulous. It's really, it catches you and knocks you off your, hang on a minute. That doesn't look right, but I don't know why. And all this insidious creepiness, it works magic on you. Black magic, obviously. So, like, anyway, well, they've all got the services, so you might as well go back to bed. Oh, shit. Well, so it's my party night. Goes back to her room, but then she looks out the window and she sees all these cowled figures heading towards like a crypt door and on this little high-rise sort of cemetery block, and they're heading up there, all the hoods and the cowls, you know, black satanic monks and disciples of the devil, don't you know? And she's like, Christ, you know, but Locket's gone. It's Candlemas Eve. I should have said as well that, because this is what's going to become apparent right now, the victim, the girl that's being lured to her death and ritualistic sacrifice, they take something of hers and they leave a dead bird in its place and a sprig of woodbine, a sprig of woodbine. So she goes to her drawer and she opens it up and there's like a sparrow with like a needle impaled through it. And then when she goes, oh, that's right, she goes to open she hears the Gregorian chanting again, and she goes to pulls the rug back and listens at the trap door, and then the blind opens up like that. On her door there's a sprig of woodbine as well, but the key to that trap door is hanging off the cord for the blind that's shot up. Like, so she gets the key, opens up, pulls this up. She's got a little flashlight, and this sepulchral domain that she descends into is the stuff of pure nightmares. You wouldn't go in there, but she does. Down the steps, cobwebs everywhere. Fuck that, you know. Great big, no way on earth. And she's in there, and she sees a pillar, a stone pillar with chains attached to it. You know, get out, run now. And but no, she doesn't. She's investigating, going round, and doesn't get another 2 steps, and suddenly these hands come out of nowhere, and she starts screaming her head off, and she gets dragged by these 2 mad monks down a corridor. A great big door whoosh, comes down, whoosh, bang, which apparently during the making of it actually clocked the 2 monks on the head. Didn't hurt them. It's only fucking polystyrene, like. But and they drag it off, and what's in store for it? An altar, and all the guests, everyone from the town, it seems, is there, all with their big cowls on, and one whose face is strangely in shadow, so you can't quite see his face. And Mrs. Newless is there with a big dagger, and clearly, yes, she is the reincarnation of, well, she's the undead harbinger of doom. She's the original witch, and everyone there is part of her coven. So it's Candlemas Eve, got to sacrifice a young bitch, which they're going to do. As Iron Maiden used imagery from this movie and these particular scenes for the video for Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. And it's horrible. She does a lot of screaming and she really fights to get away, and she almost gets out the door again, and they drag her back, throw her on the table, and suddenly the guy whose face has been shadowed, it's revealed to be none other than Christopher Lee, the very guy that sends her there. You bastard, sir. You bastard. You know, it's Alan Driscoll, Professor. You swine. And she's screaming, no, Mr. Lewis, no. And this big dagger comes up, and they're talking about the when the clock strikes 13. And she goes, Mrs. Lewis, how can a clock strike 13? And Mrs. Lewis says to her, you know, this is early on, she's like, well, personally, I've only ever heard it strike 12. But liar, it does strike 13. And down comes the knife. Whoa, in a fantastic cut, we go straight back to college campus and a big party and a big birthday cake as the knife goes into the cake to cut the cake. And it's her brother, and everything's great, but Nan was meant to be there. This is now 2 weeks later. Nan hasn't come back. By the way, you've all thought that Nan was the star of the movie. What other film came out in 1960 where another gorgeous blonde strips off and carries the first third of the movie, and you're with her as mystery and suspense is built up, and then she's horribly killed with a knife? Psycho. Yeah. Now, we'll pause here because City of the Dead, people have often... They accused John Llewellyn Moxey and Milton Subotsky. You ripped off Psycho. They never did rip off Psycho. This film came out before Psycho, so they hadn't even seen Psycho. Now, Robert Bloch wrote the book Psycho, but very quickly it was turned into a movie by Alfred Hitchcock, of course. And it is simply coincidence that both these films, shot in black and white, on small scale sets, but very elaborate and atmospheric sets, both with fabulous scores, and the rug is pulled from under you because the woman you think is the heroine is killed, not at the start, but after a lengthy chapter, and you're following it, and you've learnt things alongside her, and she's killed. Both 1960. Now, it's conceivable that Milton Subotsky had read the book Psycho, although I think he said he didn't, and hadn't seen the movie, it hadn't come out yet. And Moxey, the director, said exactly the same thing. No, our film came out first. It's just coincidental. There's also another film that came out in 1960, black and white, and about a witch who's been horribly persecuted at the start in a fabulously iconic prologue. Barbara Steele, you know where I'm going with this, Mario Bava's Black Sunday, or Mask of Satan, which again, lots of mist, lots of crypts, a reincarnation of a witch and her henchman, and obviously all hell breaks loose in the then 60s modern world. All three of these films are connected, but only by sheer coincidence, and they all came out in 1960. But the first off the block was this one, City of the Dead. So there you go. That's the connection out of the way. But and they are great bedfellows, these movies. You can watch them as a triumvirate, and they work splendidly. Okay, two of them deal with witchcraft. Psycho obviously doesn't, but it has that same atmosphere. And because what will happen again in, of course, Psycho, Janet Leigh's the shower victim, her sister comes out to investigate what's happened there, and will make discoveries, and will unravel the whole plot and everything that's been going on there. Well, of course, it's going to be Nan's brother, Dennis Lotis, Richard Barlow. Now, he's at this party, and Nan's not here. Knock at the door. Right, open the door. It's Bill Maitland, Tom Naylor. Remember I said about him, dig that crazy beat. Maitland. Christopher Lee can't stand him. Now, the clever thing, it's Nan's boyfriend. Listen, I'm concerned about Nan. I haven't heard from her. She's been gone 2 weeks. She should have been back by now. Well, yeah, she was due at this party. In fact, I thought it was you. I thought you were Nan knocking at the door. And so the hackles get raised. Oh, look, I want you to call the Ravens in. I want you to call that place now. Something's happened to it. Now, this is the clever thing about this movie, or one of the many clever things. Bill Maitland, the boyfriend, was an annoying bastard at the start, antagonising Christopher Lee, and you just think, he's also he looks way older, even though he's given his 1950s style, buzz cut and all that. He looks too old to be a student, but I like the guy. He's annoying at the start, but you can see, he does care for Nan, and he was right to be confrontational with Christopher Lee's Alan Driscoll. He was right to be nasty to him, because the guy's a bastard, quite clearly. He sent Nan to her death. He was there. So anyway, they try to call the Ravens in, but the operator says there's no listing for a Ravens in, and the brother's they say there's no in there. What? Call the police. So they call the police, and the police do go up there. Anyway, look, we've got to find out what's happened here. So Driscoll, Barlow, Dick Barlow, goes to see Christopher Lee. Now, this is a weird little moment as well, because in Christopher Lee's abode, he's obviously gone back to the campus, and he's in his lovely suite of rooms or whatever he's got, and he's got a bird in a cage, and he's got robes on, not content with having sacrificed a poor young girl, but no, he's got to kill a bird now, so he reaches in, gets his bird, big dagger, kills the bird. I don't really kill the bird. And in a lovely little touch, he's got because he obviously got blood on his hands, and that Dick Barlow is buzzing at the door, and knocking. So shit, my little private ceremony ritual, I've got to cut it short. Damn it! So he's got like this wall, this stone wall of gargoyles and like a sort of water fountain. And so he washes his hands. If you listen to the sound of it, it's like... It just sounds that stupid. I mean, just speared a bear. Oh, God. Then takes ages getting his robes off and like smartening himself up and then goes and answers the door. Ah, Barlow. Where's Nan? You sent Nan to that strange town, Whitewood. What's happened to her? Well, I don't know. I sent her up there and everything seemed to be fine. Well, I can't get through to her. No one's seen her. The police have gone up there now. Well, in fact, the police have been... oh, no. Let's not run ahead of ourselves. Anyway, this is another confrontation between Christopher Lee and Dennis Lotus. And it doesn't go down well. Look, I'm going to go up there. What? You're going to go up? And as they're having this conversation, there's a knock at the door again. And Christopher Lee, excuse me, opens the door. And it's the girl from the bookshop. It's the Reverend's granddaughter. And so she is there like, oh, Mr. Driscoll, can I speak to you, please? Why, certainly, would you come in? And at the same time, the brother's going, and he goes like so I can't stop you from going to Whitewood. Well, I hope you find what you're looking for in Whitewood or something like that. And she hears that. She goes, oh, did I just overhear you say Whitewood? What? Why, yes. Well, I've just come from Whitewood. Oh, really? Well, hang on a moment. Christopher Lee's character clearly goes up there, and as he says in the very next sentence, well, she goes, you know Whitewood? Yes, I was born there. I was born there. Do give my regards to your grandfather, the Reverend. And it's all like, yeah. Clearly, he should fucking know who she is. He knows the Reverend. He knows everything. He should know that the Reverend's wife has died, which is why she's there. He's just been there. He didn't just pop up at a fucking slicing and then drove back home again. You'd stop for a meal and a bit of a chit chat with your fellow coven members, wouldn't you? So you'd find out all the goss from the little tiny village. So he should know what's going on. Anyway, it's like, no, well, what's it now? What does she do? They have I don't know, they don't have an argument, not like that. But, so, well, anyway, well, I can offer you nothing more, but the police have been involved and blah, 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 blah. So she goes back to Whitewood and I'm trying to get this right now. Yeah, she drives back through the mist, goes past the gas station, right? And looming up in the fog. Now, don't forget, she doesn't stop for directions because she knows where she's going. But she drives up and there's the man in black. Valentine Dial, Jethro Keane is there like, are you going to Whitewood? Why, yes. do hop in. Don't you? And he gets in, off they drive and all that. There's loads of little shots of it. It's obviously a rear projection of the landscape, the misty trees and as they're driving past. But they've made an effort to try to make the car go over some bumps and that. So they go, oh, watch out, there's a bump coming up. And the two will go like that. But it's actually quite convincing. I quite like the way they've done it. And they drive up there. And he does his disappearing act again. But she goes into the hotel and she goes, Mrs. Newless, Nan Barlow, what happened to her? Well, she left this book. She hasn't paid her bill. She's only here for one night. She's clearly left. And gives her the book. Lottie tries to speak to this other woman as well, like Patricia Russell. And gets fucking nowhere again, like, well, she can't speak for one thing, like, but you got Mrs. Newless is always hovering there like a vulture. Lottie. The chamber pots, if you please, and drink from them like you should do. And but she's got the book now. When she walks out, she bumps into the two guys from the sheriff's department, who again are British, but they're from the sheriff's department. And she goes, "Do you know this Nan Barlow?" "Why, yes, I do. I saw her, I met her only once, and she borrowed this book. In fact, that's why I came back, because she promised to give the book back, and but I've just found it from Mrs. Newless." And he goes, "Treatise on witchcraft." What these crazy kids get up to these days. And they go in, and obviously they draw a blank there, because then they phone the brother and Bill Maitland, the boyfriend, and like they've drawn a blank. We don't know where she is. She's left. You didn't pay the bill. Right, I'm going up there, says the brother. So off he drives. This is a crazy little scene as well. So you see Dick Barlow get into his car and drive off, but right behind him, watching, is Bill Maitland, who gets in his car and drives off after him as well. And watching from a window, which, hang on, where are they? It's Christopher Lee watching from a window. So he knows they're going up to Whitewood, the two of these guys. What house is he in? Did they all live in the same little block? Because Christopher Lee's watching with that angular face, looking incredibly like Nicolas Cage in this movie. Because this is a younger Christopher Lee. He'd just done Curse of Frankenstein playing the monster, and Dracula as well playing Dracula. And but he actually, because he's a good-looking fella, very distinguished, he's the least American-looking person in the world, with the least American accent you could possibly imagine. But he's wonderful, and that's suave, and the height. There's a great shot, gotta say, when the brother and sister early on are talking to, right near the start, are talking to Christopher Lee. The camera, Desmond Dickinson's camera, is right up at the height of Christopher Lee, looking down on the brother and sister, who are looking up at Christopher Lee, massively enhancing and emphasising his imposing height. And it's a brilliantly clever little shot. And it's John Llewellyn Moxey says, like, well, in most of my films, I hate doing, I don't like doing editing and cuts. So I'll just do a single two-shot. Camera's on you, and I'll put it together. None of this elaborate stuff. No, the camera's not going to move around. Don't want any of that. Too much going on, too much messing about. I like the audience to know where everybody is at any particular time. And you can see it prevalently in this movie, and it does work. And this shot's a case in point. You're looking down at them who are looking up at Christopher Lee, and it just really magnifies he's a tall, sinister guy, So, everyone's bombing it up to Whitewood now. Because obviously Christopher Lee's going to fucking go up there as well. So this poor gas attendant, it's like, oh, no. He's got to keep coming out. What? Don't tell me, where do you want to go? Whitewood. Yeah, you go down here, there's a fork in the road, you turn left, blah, 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 blah. And so he tells Dick Barlow where to go. That's where you're going. And then straight afterwards, you get Bill Maitland coming up, who's obviously can't see the other car in the fog. It's like, Whitewood, I want to go to... So, I think he's like, what? Don't tell me you go into Whitewood as well. Look, they don't like strangers in that town. He gives him a bit more of a warning because he's younger and he's got a buzz cut. He could be trouble. So, but in a weird little touch, which makes you wonder why she doesn't do it to Barlow himself, the brother. When Bill Maitland's driving up, suddenly in front of him you see an image of the laughing witch from the start with the flames, ha 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 ha, tied to the stake, ha 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 ha. He goes, "Ugh!" And drives off the road. Car overturns, it's in flames. He manages to crawl away. He's done in. He's hurt, and he collapses by a tree. He's done in, and you think, oh shit, poor bastard. And you think, well, how come she picked on him and didn't pick up? Well, anyway, so he gets there. And he checks into the Raven's Inn, and says, "Look," she says to him, Mrs. Newley says to him, he goes, I want a room, and she goes, well, the hotel is closing. Well, I still want a room. I've just told you, the hotel is closing in 2 days. Well, I'll have a room until then, if you don't mind. I suppose so. I wouldn't mind my sister's room. Your sister? Yes, Nan Barlow. And she said, oh yes, she left here without paying her bill. But don't worry, you can add it to mine. So she shows him into the same room, trapdoor. Remember that trapdoor thing? Yeah. So he's in there. But he goes for a little recon around the village. And in that, remember I said about the people stopping and staring at Nan? Well, you get the exact same shot, but with him. And it's beautiful. The same two people stop first of all and stand and stare at him, and he looks back at them, and then the same guy walks past. So and he approaches the church. So the two in the rear background, the midground, you got the other guy, and then you got him, our boy, approaching the church. And it's just like a time loop. It's not explained, it's not necessary, it's just everything is repeating itself, it's cyclic, and it's just in its own little lost limbo of deja vu. It's a beautiful little trick that Moxie pulls, and he does talk about it in interviews, and he said, I did it on purpose, and just thought this will be a neat little trick, and it'll register ookiness, which it does indeed. Now he gets a bit further with the Reverend, gets to learn a bit more about what's going on. I have been fighting the evil in this place many years. Oh, that's kind of shit. Like, he also goes and meets Patricia, the granddaughter, runs the bookshop. Remember her? Goes and sees her. And he talks to her, like, and she says, "Well, look, Lottie. Well, I got the book that Nan had, and there's a little note inside it, and all this, like, and little clues. I'm gonna read through all how far she got with the book and all that." Hang on a second. Hang on a moment. She took the book back down to Bartlett and Bill Maitland and left the book down there, because Bill Maitland is the one that's been looking at the book, and he's seen a passage on the Candlemas ritual, and there's a horrible etching of all these grinning witches about to put a dagger. It looks like they're going to put it in the face of the poor girl, but that's how it looks. And he's like, this is spooky shit, this, and Nan's got involved in all this, and I'm like, no. So they were dubious about witchcraft to begin with, but now they're thinking, there could be something to this. So they already know about this. Anyway, the Reverend Pat goes over to get, just call me Pat. Oh, my name's Richard. So she calls him Dick. Straight away, it's Pat and Dick. And she goes off to get her granddad, brings him over. And they sit him in his favourite chair and all that, like, and he explains, I've been battling evil here for a long time. They serve him, they serve the devil. I still fight, but he took the sight. He took my sight. They'll find out how. Maybe he just went blind. He blames it on them. I don't know. But did he poke your eyes out? What? He's got these glassy, milky eyes. But anyway, I think you suddenly start hearing chanting and stuff going on, and there's a sprig of woodbine on the door. They find a bed and all that speared through, so they know, like, look, it's all going to happen now. It's all going to kick off. You must leave. Well, you must fight. Anyway, he goes, well, I'll go and check this out at the hotel. So the brother legs it over there again, like, and he's on the phone, operator, get me the police, blah 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 blah, and hangs up or whatever, and I think the phone goes at the hotel, and Mrs. Newlands takes the call, and it's from the Reverend and Patricia, and he hears Patricia screaming, and they're coming for right, shit, yeah. So he legs it over there, and what he finds, and this is quite creepy. They've obviously, the coven have nabbed Patricia. And he opens a closet door, and the Reverend just goes, whoa, and looms out, and he's dying. They've done for him, like, you must save her and get out. And that's it. Bye, Reverend. So he goes back to the hotel again. He's fucking running about, and he stumbles into Bill Maitland, the boyfriend, but he's all massively fucked up. And he's like, what's going on? Where's Nan? And oh god, he puts him in his car, like his car, like the one that hasn't crashed, obviously. And like, right, look. Previously, in a previous episode, Patricia has tried to get the Reverend out, but the car won't start, and she pops the hood and looks at it, goes, they've destroyed the engine or something like that. And so they know they're trapped anyway. And then, of course, they make the phone call to the hotel, and on the middle of the call, she gets abducted, and the grandfather gets done in. But so you've got Bill Maitland's now in the car, sitting there, dying, bleeding, and oh boy, legs it back at the hotel, and like, right now he pulls the thing back, gets the key, opens the trapdoor. He's seen the monks and he's heard the Gregorian chanting. So he opens all this and gets in, and he's down. He goes into all this shit, like, And now I'll pause here to say that if you find yourself in a situation like this, well, A, get the fuck out of there, on foot if need be, if your cars are done in, and kill anyone that gets in your way. That's the simple thing. But more specifically, if you open a trap door in a hotel or anywhere where you know it's a hostile environment, rip that trap door off its hinges so you can't be locked down there. Rip that off, right? And in the meantime as well, because they might put the bed across and barricade you in so you'd be trapped down there, because you don't know what's down there. Lift the bed up and barricade the hotel door. That's what you do. And then, if you have to feel so investigative to go down there, then you go down there. And he encounters all these fucking cobwebs again. By the way, this is now the eve, well, it's the Black Sabbath, which is only another, I mentioned Iron Maiden already, and now we've got Black Sabbath in here as well. And it's only 2 weeks later, from Candlemas Eve to Black Sabbath. So, anyway, so another sacrifice has to be made to keep themselves alive. This is the whole thing, you're going to learn this. But, so he goes down there, and they've now got Patricia, so she's going to be the sacrifice. And you've seen Mrs. Newless and Jethro sitting by the fire again, going like, she's pretty too. He will be pleased again. And all this shit, like. So, and this is even better. It's a descendant of one who was cursed. Because Nam was obviously from the outside altogether. So he goes down into the fucking the catacombs, sees all the cobwebs and spiders and the chains on the stone columns, and he bats a spider aside like that and goes, and his hand gingerly hits something. He goes, and it's, oh shit, I forgot. Oh, it's Lottie the mute girl, and she's like that. She's dead, and she just slumps back into the recess of this. She's standing up as well and falls back into this sort of hole in the wall. And I missed this bit out, didn't I? Damn it all. Someone knocking at the door now. It's all going off, isn't it? We have an exciting box. We have delivery. I have a feeling that this has come from our good friend on the Emerald Isle. I'll be opening that later. Cheers, Captain Ronnie. That's come from you. Cheers, mate. Where was I up to? Oh yeah, Lottie had tried to leave a little note for the brother, because she can't talk, can she? She's like, she writes a note, and she's doing it in the room where he's staying, like Nan's room as well. And Mrs. Newless comes in with Valentine dial Jethro, and she's like, and points to it, and she's like, and they grab her. Yes, do it. And he fucking strangles the poor girl. So we knew she was dead, but he finds the body. He's like, ah. He said, right, Jesse as well, like, and anyway, the body falls down. Then he will get attacked as well, but he gets dragged, and they go into the big altar room, and there's Patricia is on the slab about to be, and they're waiting for the 13th, bingy bong on the clock and all that. And Christopher Lee's standing there. He comes out the shadows, and like, well, our boy's got a gun, and he gets his revolver out. Bang, 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 bang. He fires 6 shots. I don't know how many shots I did there, but he fires a full 6 shots and nothing. And you're like, well, fuck me, that's a bit fucking severe, isn't it? They can't even die. What? The Reverend has said they need to kill them because they've been living on blood. They've been living like vampires. They drain the blood out of all these ritualistic victims, and they live on. And but they, seemingly the entire town must be in on this. Although the priest does say, like, everyone hides behind locked doors on these nights. Well, there's only about 5 houses there, so they must all be in on it, you know what I mean? Anyway. And why didn't he kill the priest? Well, the thing is, the cross, the shadow of the cross upon them will kill them. Right, bear that in mind. So, bullets have no effect. Bang, 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 bang. No, big fight, and what happens? Oh, he manages to. Oh, yeah. I think it's a bit wimpy and weedish. He manages to push Christopher Lee away and a couple of others, and he grabs, Patricia, and they run. There's another way out, and they run up into the cemetery. So they're there, and but suddenly there's the rest of the coven are all out there, all in their robes. Just see their faces, and then in a great shot, suddenly they'll go, "Wah!" And all their hands come out, and they're getting grappled. They grab the poor girl. They're gonna do it in on a tombstone, and they're holding him. And then suddenly they've got the big dagger, and then suddenly you see staggering figure of the boyfriend, Bill Maitland, and he's coming like that. And he's like, Bill, grab a cross, the shadow of the cross. So he doesn't just snap a little crucifix off a grave. He picks up a fucking great big bloody slab of stone crucifix, and he's staggering. It's a wonderful shot. It looks amazing, and he's staggering with this thing. It reminds me of Guthrie the Loony from The Living Dead at the Manchester Morgue, where he picks up, a crucifix, a big stone crucifix, and he throws it on the copper, who him and his zombie cohorts then disembowel and eat to bits. And but he looks just like that, and he's staggering. And he looks like he's evil. He's all in black silhouette sort of thing, with this crucifix, and he's staggering through the mist, the ever pervasive mist. And he's there, and oh god, he manages to, when the shadow hits one of these devil's disciples, the coven, like a fucking laser bolt goes whoosh, and they erupt into flames. Like, bloody hell, didn't know we could do that. The Reverend wasn't wrong. After all, the shadow of the cross will destroy them. But that bitch, Mrs. Newless, the original witch, whose name I've forgotten again, Elizabeth Selwyn, she throws the fucking dagger. She's like a fucking ninja. Like that. And it gets Bill in the... Oh, God. He's gone through a car crash. He's been wrecked. His body's fucked. Now he gets a fucking knife. Oh, God. But he's still and he's still using the cross to get him. And you think, well, at least he can't sacrifice the girl now because there's no daggers left. But oh no, Christopher Lee goes, a little penknife to give it to her. But anyway, Bill Maitland comes down and saves the day. Ben. Kind of like poetic, I suppose, because Christopher Lee's going, Ben Witch. Dig that crazy beat and all that. And he's doing the Ben Witch, literally. And then he will fucking snuff it. Oh, God. There's a nice little moment earlier where I think they're running past the tombstones, and suddenly the brother stops and goes, rubs the dust off it. It's got Alan Driscoll, which of course is Christopher Lee's character. So he was dead, obviously. They're all dead. They're just ongoing. They're all reincarnating or whatever. But they're going on with the devils, Lucifer's power. And but the thing is, the deal is, unless you fuck up, Lucifer will keep you going. But if you fuck up, and they fucked up here because now they haven't done the sacrifice for the Black Sabbath, and they're all getting fucking immolated. So poor old Bill Maitland dies, and he's like, it's horrible. He started off as being a pest in a 5-minute sequence, being a pain, and then you quickly realise, no, he's actually a good guy, and he's trying to do the right thing, and he's the guy that saves the day and then dies in the process of doing it. A really heaven-sent sacrifice. Really good. And but where's Mrs. Newless? Christopher Lee's gone up in fucking flames as well. Where's Mrs. Newless? She must have got back to the hotel. So they run to the hotel. That's Patricia and what's his name? Sorry, there's the Huskies now entered the room as well. Could I have any more distractions? Fucking flames almost burnt the bloody mansion down with the candles before. Knocking at the door. Knock. Now there's a Husky on the rampage. We'll persevere though. The endless fight against evil. And they go into the hotel, the main foyer, and they see obviously Mrs. Newless with her cowl and her hood is sitting with her back to them by the fire, and they run over there like it's like, stay back. And of course they turn around, and because the deal's been broken with the devil, she's gone back to it's not really that grisly in effect. It's just she's been darkened and charred and blackened a bit. She's gone back to the burnt version that she once was before she was granted life eternal. So she's now burnt to a crisp. And then the camera cuts up to the plaque saying, here's where the witch Elizabeth Selwyn was burned alive in 1690 fucking whatever. And or so you think, And but that's the Psycho ending as well. If you think about it, when they turn, Mother's dead and all that, like, and the final revelation and all that, like Mother's dead in the rocking chair, desiccated corpse and all that, and they turn her around, and it's a similar sort of effect at a similar point in the movie, another great big shock jolt moment. But this film came first, and it's wonderful. I think the dog wants to go out now. I don't believe this. Come on then. Come on, Hunt. Ooh. Let's go. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm fucking knackered. I'm just meant to sit here and talk about a movie for a bit. And like, to be this way, that way, do this, do that. Oh, God. What a rigmarole. It's enough to drive a man to drink, isn't it? Cheers, y'all. City of the Dead is awesome. That little set on Shepperton Studios is magnificent. The all-pervasive, ever-present mist is just genius. The little camera tricks. Desmond Dickinson's cinematography is exquisite. The black and white monochromatic imagery is superlative. The little poetic visions of deja vu, the people stopping and staring, wonderful. Just wonderful. Moxie's direction is great. The gratuitous shot of Venetia Stevenson getting undressed is just... There's also a level of brutality in this film. When they get her, it's absolute... And she's screaming her head off. She said, for a day, I was screaming, non-stop screaming, and they kept redoing these scenes of her abduction and her murder. And it really, it's horrible. The stabbing, the knife in the back of her, Bill May, thrown at him, it's like, oh, God. And the hell he goes through. The cleverness of the shadow of the cross, and then like a laser beam. It's more like a magnifying glass with the sunlight going through it, and he set fire to paper, or in some cases, some nasty people set fire to ants and spiders. I wouldn't know anything about that. And it's that kind of pinprick light, and then instant immolation. The music by Douglas Gamley. Is it Gamley? Hang on a second. Yeah, Douglas Gamley, and certain jazz elements for the party, and of course the mysterious couples who are dancing around in the hotel, and that's by Ken Jones. But Douglas Gamley was an Australian composer who did a lot with Amicus, and in fact he scored one of my it is my favourite Amicus movie of all time, The Beast Must Die. The film I've always said, if I ever get the chance, that's the one I'd remake. I'm not a fan of remakes at all, but there's a lot you could do with that story, The Beast Must Die. There's a lot you can do. I've said this many, many times, and I reviewed the film, The Beast Must Die, way back when I first started doing these videos. So it's only about like 15, 20 minutes long. Oh, not what you get these days, is it? Like fucking Leviathan, 2.5 hour long videos. Yeah. And but that's the film I'd love to remake. I've got ideas for it, so please, Amicus, who are back, Amicus like Hammer are back, so I might have to get in touch with them. Who knows? Yeah, you heard it here first. But Douglas Gamley's score is beautiful. It's full of Gregorian chants. I've got it. This is the score. There's a bit of dialogue on this. Well, I've got a suite of music from it, basically. It runs for about 10 minutes, I think. And the rest of the music you've been hearing is from Gretel and Hansel by Rob, who did the remake of Maniac. And that's powerful, witchy, bizarre music. So you've been hearing that throughout this as well. But it's all this mock Gregorian chant. The Reverend does say, their rituals are to mock Christianity and the church. Which of course that's what they are. Orgiastic, rituals and celebrations. The Sabbath, and Candlemas Eve and all that. There's a lot of... It is dumb that, Venetia Stevenson as Nan doesn't seem to realise, hang on, but this is newest. What? I bet you didn't even know this, but the site where you're built here is where the witches got burnt. And what they do, Candlemas Eve, it's Candlemas Eve, you haven't made that connection. They take a locket, they take something from the victim, a young girl, which they used to call her, and I've lost my locket. And and they leave a dead bird and a sprig of woodbine. And there's a dead bird, a sprig of woodbine, and you've heard Gregorian chanting, and you're into witchcraft. For fuck's sake. It's so stupid, and yet it's so brilliant at the same time, because like Psycho, you are on her side. You don't think nothing's going to happen to her. She'll be a damsel in distress, but her boyfriend's going to come and save the day. Well, her boyfriend does come and save the day, but she's long dead already. And he saves the day, but in a heroic self-sacrifice, and gets killed as well. But it's also daft in that who exactly lives in this village? Because, you've only got a handful of houses there. You've got the hotel, all these guests descend, and obviously Jethro Keane. Well, where's he the rest of the time? We know that Christopher Lee has a life outside of this village, and academia. But he's still doing little bird sacrificing rituals back in his suite of rooms, and then washing his hands afterwards. But and the Reverend's been battling all this, but his wife, the grandmother, died only weeks before, which is why Pat, the granddaughter, arrived there. So wasn't she brought up there? Because that's... no, sorry. She's the granddaughter, isn't she? Yeah, okay. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's just a really beautifully shot, incredibly eerie, highly suspenseful, and actually brilliantly acted movie. And it's only short as well. It's not even 90 minutes. It's only a short film, but it has such a lot of beautiful imagery and oodles of atmosphere. I would say that don't go expecting this to be a big Christopher Lee movie. It really isn't. It's Patricia Jessel as Mrs. Newless. It's more her movie, and then you got obviously Nan, Venetia Stevenson, and then the brother and Bill Maitland. And I keep forgetting Betta St. John as Patricia Russell, the Reverend's daughter. No, that's the granddaughter, isn't it? Yeah, fucking hell, let's get this right. God. You've got these succession of characters who will come in and they'll do the same manoeuvres that Nan did and get in jeopardy and have to fight, blah, 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 blah. It repeats itself. But you've got that first third where you're with what you think is going to be the heroine, just like Psycho. And very thematically similar to Mask of Satan, Black Sunday by Mario Barbara Steele. Magnificent movie, magnificent. Again, all three films, Psycho, Mask of Satan, Black Sunday, and this have gorgeous monochromatic photography, wonderful sets, and just drip with atmosphere. And are all shocking in their own right. 1960 was a bit of a shocking year for suddenly doing things audiences didn't expect, like killing off your heroine a third of the way into the film. What else was I going to say there? It'll come to me, don't worry. The legacy of this movie, again, it's found its way into hard rock videos with Satanism and that gothic sort of attitude, and but also the likes of John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, which is a very sort of Lovecraftian and Stephen King pastiche with Sam Neill, which I love that movie. You have an element in that film. Again, you've got a ghostly town where you shouldn't go there, and time seems to stand still. It's in its own limbo, and you have the drive there where the kid on the bike becomes an old guy on a bike beside them, and they can't leave. Every time they drive down the street, they come back in again. They can't leave the place. It's very similar in style and attitude to this movie, with the whole thing about the people stopping in the street and staring at you, and time repeating itself. Just a big land of deja vu. That's from this. John Carpenter definitely took it from this, I would say. There's probably other films that it's influenced as well in many ways, but it's a quiet film, and a film that slips under the radar. Everyone who's seen it loves it, and people who haven't seen it, they go, "What? Do you mean City of the Living Dead?" No, not little Lucio Fulci and the little Goremeister, the little ogre of gore from Italy. Dog slurpage there. You can probably just see it, I think. I'll have a slurpage as well. Cheers, y'all. Cheers, Roxy. Incidentally, John Llewellyn Moxey was born in Argentina, but I think his mother was Argentinian, his father was Welsh, hence the middle name of Llewellyn, a very strong Welsh name. He was told by a numerologist when he went to America, because this is his first film, it's his first actual feature film directorial debut, and what a masterpiece it is as well, of directorial verve and style. And then he went to America and he saw a numerologist over there, and this guy said to him, like, "Well, you know what you want to do? You've got a middle name, Llewellyn. Don't just call yourself John Moxey. Call yourself John Llewellyn Moxey, and you'll have more success." So he did, and it worked. He directed Kolchak the Night Stalker, the original Dan Curtis produced Night Stalker with Dan McGowan, the original movie. He didn't do The Night Strangler, which was the follow-on TV movie. These were TV movies, of which John Llewellyn Moxey did a lot of TV movies, and a lot of TV shows as well. And he loved the American system of making TV movies and TV shows. But one of the best TV movies ever made is The Night Stalker. And my God, Moxey knocked it out the park with that. But you go back and they use mist in that as well, even though it's like kind of neon lit mist. It's LA and vampires and stuff, and it's just a fucking wonderful movie. But you can see his trademark stuff, and again, it's kind of like the 1 and 2 shot camera setups, but great atmospheric sets and camera work all the time, and really wonderful sort of clever direction. Nothing massively elaborate and fancy, but just clever. Just by putting the camera up there a bit, like, let's just film it from that way. Let's do this. Let's have these people stop in the street there and just turn around. And you create this. Here's the Gregorian chanting from. This is again mock stuff, like. And I say Gamley, who the composer, would do a lot for Amicus as well. Some of the portmanteau movies. Oh, and I was going to say, the other film that this reminds me of a lot is, sadly, Amicus's sort of last stab at portmanteau stuff was The Monster Club by Ronald Chetwynd Hayes. I've got the original book, I've got the movie. It's an anthology thing, but you meet all different types of monsters, shadmocks and fucking whatever. All different weird names. You've got a sort of a family tree of monsterdom, and the Monster Club is a club in London. B.A. Robertson sings in there as well. You have a stripper who strips off down to the bones and all that. But you have one story is in there, and I think it's called The Village, and it's Stuart Whitman, he's a scouting agent for a film. He's looking for locations, and he finds this quaint old English village, and which is totally mist-enshrouded, and there's an old church there. Now, very similar things will happen in that village as happen in City of the Dead. Now, Moxey didn't direct that Monster Club, as you can clearly tell, because The Moss Enclave is not a good. It's not a good film, folks. It isn't, and it's got its fans, but it really is a missed opportunity. It's pretty poor. But The Village is the final story, and it's the best one, and it definitely harks back to City of the Dead. So, folks, Christopher Lee, again, it's not his movie. He's not in it that much at all, but he is good in what he does. But it's just this attempt at doing an American accent. It just doesn't work. I know. I've got a feeling Peter Cushing would probably have done it better. Although in Amicus's The Beast Must Die, he does what accent's that meant to be? It's Eastern European anyway. It's meant to be, but it's bloody awful. So even the great Peter Cushing, still fumbles occasionally. But I love The Beast Must Die. I really do. It's an incredible film. In fact, let's play some of that just to tease us out. This is Douglas Gamley again. Now it's different. This was 1973, 74. Waka, 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 waka. It's jazzy, it's blaxploitation, it's funky. Calvin Lockhart as the big game hunter, not big gay hunter, big game hunter who wants to track the biggest, wildest beast ever, the ultimate trophy, a werewolf, or as they say in this film, a werewolf. Is it Valentine Dial doing the voice in that as well for the werewolf break? I think it is. Oh, I love this movie, and do you know what? Suddenly I'm thinking, there's something I should know, but it doesn't half sound like him. But they use that horror. Some people call it a werewolf. There's no I in werewolf. It would be W-E-I-R wolf. Then would it? Werewolf. It's werewolf. Damn you. But even this jazzy sort of intro theme here, which Gamley comes up with, runs into a score which is full of suspense and stingers and build-up and action licks as well, which are like this sort of airy, funky, jazzy 70s style. And of course, Michael Gambon starred in this movie as well, The Beast Must Die, and he only passed away very recently. Let's go back on the City of the Dead. Folks, I recommend this movie wholeheartedly. It is available on UK Blu-ray from Arrow. Tons of extras on it, tons of great extras. You've got a commentary from Christopher Lee, you've got interviews with Christopher Lee. Venetia Stevenson talks about it. Venetia Stevenson, by the way, I know she was a model and she's adorable and she acts superbly in this movie. She wasn't comfortable in front of the camera, so she kind of didn't do much after this movie and dropped out of it, and then became a producer. And in 1981 she produced one of our favourite movies, Walter Hill's Southern Comfort. What? The Cajuns taking out the dickhead National Guardsmen in the Louisiana swamps. Keith Carradine powers Booth, Peter Coyote, Brian James, and of course Sonny Landham as well. Billy from Predator. She produced that movie. Wow! I do love this Gregorian stuff and the big cymbal clashes and the bum 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 bums. Alright, we get the fucking point of that, yeah. Don't witches and Satanists have the best time, don't they? I've said before, I have met Satanists. I know people who are practicing Satanists. They're actually really great people. I have met some who are not so great, going back some way, and but I love this sort of stuff. So stupidly, I did get invited to a get together. not the devil rides out. It wasn't nothing like that, but it was a get together of these people. But some of them have very, I don't know, bizarre ideas, and they're fascinating people. They're not. I don't recommend fraternizing with them, but I can handle myself. I'm all right, you know. I've told you what to do. The trapdoor. Take the fucking trapdoor off its hinges and lash out the fucking window. Put the bed up as a barricade, so you don't want to be trapped down beneath. No. It's so easy. Oh, the allure of a trapdoor. What's down there? Ooh, spooky. Oh, I'll have a little look. Boom. Door goes down. Just leave you there forever, so you rot. Oh God, my mind works in such mysterious ways. But yeah, Satanists remind me to tell you a story about. Well, one thing that. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it, but yeah, fuck it, I probably will. But remind me to do it. This has gone on for an hour and a half now, so I'm gonna sign off. I've got loads more to do. It's Halloween tomorrow, for God's sake. I've got a lot of stuff to do. Halloween, for God's sake, sounds really bizarre, doesn't it? Because that's a night that God has no part in. So that's the American poster for it. Horror Hotel. Just ring for doom service. Can you see that? And you got all these grotesque faces. 300 years old. Human blood keeps them alive forever. The witches do not look like that at all. They just don't. They're just normal people. But I should have said, Moxie had a hand in the casting, as he says. I obviously, I'm the director. I've got to speak to these people and make sure I got the right people in there. But he brought in, like Sergio Leone did for all his movies, his Dollars trilogy and his spaghetti westerns, he brings in people with the weirdest faces. So even in that prologue where they drag Elizabeth Selwyn out, and it's a great freeze frame. She goes, as she sees the fucking the pole, the stake she'll be chained to, and there's another freeze frame where she sees the fire getting lit, and she's like. But if you look around amongst that crowd of Puritans, these bastards, they're the good guys as well. These bastards, killjoys, aren't they? And they've all got these horrible fucking faces where they all look like you think, ugh. That's a witch's face. That's a witch's face. That's the witchiest face of all. You know, they're all horrible looking bastards. And that's what he's done. He got these faces where they look. It's a landscape on the cinema screen, on your TV screen. It's a human landscape. Leone did this, and it works because you can have a static shot of just a couple of people's faces, and you'll be endlessly fascinated by it. You could keep the camera on it for 5 minutes. It wouldn't be bored at all, because all the contours and curves and lumps and contusions and weird teeth and strange eyes, you know, and that's just me. You know, that's what I've done with these videos. My fizzog on them. Folks, I could go on forever about this, couldn't I? So we won't. I have been always shall be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever crepuscular in between time, please keep it Kilty, keep it Celtic. And I am going to see you all at a Candlemas Eve, a Black Sabbath, or especially Halloween tomorrow. When you get sent to a little mist-enshrouded town in the middle of bloody nowhere, where everyone's kind of strange and sinister, you know, don't stay. Don't stay.